Imagine you print a piece of paper, just paper, and the entire world agrees to give you real cars, real oil, real electronics, and real gold in exchange for that paper. Sounds like a scam, right? Well, that's not a scam. That's the United States dollar. And the story of how a single piece of green paper conquered the entire planet is one of the wildest, luckiest, and sneakiest tricks in all of human history. So let's explain it like you're five. How did the dollar take over the world? Okay, let's rewind about 100 years. Back then, money wasn't really paper. I mean, it looked like paper, but it was more like a coupon. Every dollar was basically a promise. Bring this paper to the bank and we'll give you actual gold. Gold was the real money. Paper was just a convenient stand-in, so you didn't have to carry heavy gold coins around in your pockets. And almost every country played this game. Your money was only worth something because a pile of shiny gold was sitting in a vault somewhere backing it up. This was called the gold standard. Remember gold. Gold is the main character for the first half of the story. Now here's where it gets interesting. World War II happens, and war is incredibly expensive. Countries need tanks, planes, guns, food, boots, everything. And where do they buy all of it? Mostly from the United States, because America was far away from the fighting and its factories were completely untouched. So all these countries at war start shipping their gold to America to pay for supplies. Ship after ship, vault after vault. And by the end of the war, one country was sitting on top of a truly ridiculous mountain of gold. The United States held about 2/3 of all the gold on Earth. Everybody else had guns and rubble. America had the gold. So in 1944, before the war is even over, the most powerful countries send their money experts to a little town called Bretton Woods in New Hampshire. And they have a problem to solve. The old money system was broken. Everyone's currency was a mess. They needed a new plan for how the whole world's money would work. And the plan they came up with was brilliant and also very convenient for the country holding all the gold. Here's the deal they made. The US dollar would be the one special currency that stayed locked to gold at $35 for 1 ounce. And then every other country would lock their money to the US dollar instead of to gold directly. So the British pound, the French franc, all of them would now measure their value in dollars. And the dollar measured its value in gold. Picture it like a solar system. Gold is the sun. The dollar is the earth orbiting the sun. And every other currency is a little moon orbiting the earth. Suddenly, the dollar was the center of the entire financial universe. Every country now needed dollars to trade with each other. The dollar had become the language of money. And for about 25 years, this worked beautifully. But there was a tiny little crack in the whole thing, a secret weakness. And that weakness was simple. The United States kept printing more dollars than it had gold to back up. See, being the world's money is great, but it's also expensive. America was spending huge amounts of money on rebuilding Europe, on the space race, and especially on the very costly war in Vietnam. And to pay for all of it, they printed. And printed. And printed more dollars. But the pile of gold in the vault, that stayed roughly the same size. So now there were way more paper dollars floating around the world than there was gold to trade them for. It was like a coat check, handing out 100 tickets for only 10 coats. As long as nobody asked for their coat, everything was fine. But then countries started to notice. And a few of them, France especially, got nervous. They basically said, you know what, we don't want your paper anymore, we'll take the actual gold, thank you very much. And they started showing up, holding their dollars, demanding real gold in return. And America looked in the vault and realized, uh-oh, If everybody does this, we run out of gold almost immediately. The coats are about to run out, and everyone's holding a ticket. So in 1971, President Richard Nixon went on television and did something enormous. He basically announced that the dollar would no longer be exchangeable for gold. Just like that. The promise that had defined money for centuries, the promise that your paper could always become gold, was gone. Canceled. The sun disappeared from the solar system. Now the dollar was backed by nothing. Nothing you could hold anyway. Just a piece of paper that the government said was valuable. This is what we call fiat money, which is a fancy way of saying it's worth something because we say so and because everyone agrees to believe it. Now, this should have been a disaster. Why would the world keep using American paper that wasn't backed by anything? And this is where America pulls off maybe the smartest move in the entire story. If the dollar couldn't be backed by gold anymore, they would back it with something the entire world needed even more desperately than gold. Oil. In the 1970s, the United States made a deal with the biggest oil-producing countries, especially Saudi Arabia. The deal was simple but genius. The oil countries agreed to sell their oil to the entire world in only one currency: US dollars. In exchange, America offered them protection and support. Think about what this does. Every single country on Earth needs oil to run cars, factories, planes, everything. And now, to buy oil, you first have to get your hands on US dollars. Doesn't matter if you're Japan or Brazil or India. Step one to buying oil is always acquire dollars. This is called the petrodollar system, and it was pure genius. The dollar didn't need gold anymore. Now it was backed by the world's constant, desperate need for energy. Everybody had to keep dollars around all the time just to keep their country running. And that brings us to today. The dollar isn't backed by gold. It's barely backed by oil anymore either. Today it's backed by something even harder to see: trust and habit and the sheer size of the American economy. So much of the world's trade, debt, and savings is already in dollars that switching to anything else would be like trying to change the language the whole world speaks, all at once overnight. Even today, well over half of all the money that countries keep in reserve is held in US dollars. Not because there's gold behind it, just because everyone else is using it, so you have to as well. And this gives America an almost magical superpower that no other country has. It's sometimes called an exorbitant privilege. Because the whole world wants dollars, America can print money to buy real things from other countries. Real oil, real cars, real electronics. In exchange for paper it can create at will. Any other country that tried printing tons of money would see its currency collapse into worthlessness. But because the world is thirsty for dollars, America gets to run up enormous debts and print enormous amounts of money in a way nobody else on the planet could ever get away with. So let's zoom all the way back out. A piece of green paper started as a promise to hand over gold. Then a world war dumped all the gold into one country's lap. Then that country made itself the center of all money. Then it quietly broke its golden promise, and instead of collapsing, it cleverly tied itself to the world's need for oil, and finally to the world's need for stability itself. And that is how a single piece of paper, backed by nothing you could hold in your hand, quietly conquered planet Earth. Not with an army, with an idea that everyone simply agreed to believe. And the strangest part of all, it's still working right now in your wallet today.